Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Racing Rundown. You are here with Aidan Molinaro and Liam Molinaro. Obviously, this is one of the most anticipated shows of the entire year, as the Derby is upon us. Only 2 more sleeps until Derby Day, but we have a lot of action leading up to that. Today, obviously, being Thurby, and then tomorrow Oaks Day, and then Saturday Derby Day. Today's show, we'll be getting into our post position reaction. Obviously, we saw the draw a couple days ago. We'll be letting you guys know how that post position draw affected our top fives that we gave in the last video here on the rundown. And then maybe that moved some of our horses and we shifted some picks around, or we kept it the same. We will see. Me and Liam will definitely be going over that. And then we'll also be giving out our Kentucky Oaks and Derby superfectas. So we'll give you our top 4. You can do with that with what you want, whether you want to play exactas, tries, or just take our win bet. We will be giving our opinion on that as well. We'll also be selecting one value bet on the undercards of both the Oaks undercard and then the Saturday Derby undercard, as well, as we have so much great racing and so many other great graded stakes, a lot of $1 million grade 1 races as well on the Friday and Saturday cards. So that is kind of just an overview of what we'll be covering this episode. Liam, do you want to start us off? Just tell me what you think about that post position draw, and did anything stand out to you? Like, did anyone get a bad draw, a good draw? What do you think? Did it shift your opinions at all?
It didn't change my opinions too much because the horses that I have on top, you'll see later, I thought all drew well. I thought obviously the favorite journalism drew really well with the number 8. Burnham Square, the 9, drew well. Grande got a good post with the 10. I thought the Baffert runners got a little bit of the short end of the stick there with the 1 and the 4. And we also did just get news that the number 4, Rodriguez, is out of the Derby with just a minor foot bruise. So they're going to skip the Derby and go to the Preakness. But that's obviously big news because it allows the number 21, Baeza, to get in the field. No, I thought there wasn't too many big reactions from the post position draw. I thought all the short price horses drew well. Sandman is going to run from number 17, the spot that has never won this race. So that's a little bit of an interesting fact, but not too much news from the post position draw.
Yeah, no, that was very important to mention that Baeza is now getting in. So thankfully he does get into the race, as both you and I have thought that he really deserved a shot to run in this year's Derby. I don't know whether he can win, but he definitely deserves a chance to win, or to run, sorry, with only getting beat by the Derby favorite in journalism by 3 parts of a length last time. So I think Baeza getting in is a great story, but I think the 20 hole is going to be kind of tough for him. Obviously, that's unfortunate coming off the also list, so then you're on the far outside gate there. But as far as the post position draw, I shifted my top 5 slightly. The only reason I changed my top 5 in a few spots was because of Tapan Street. Obviously, we lost him from the body of the field as he had surgery this past Sunday, and I think his connections, Brad Cox, are looking to aim for more of a summer-fall campaign. So if he can come back this year, that would be really cool to see, hopefully maybe around Breeders' Cup time or some of those later in the year 3-year-old races. I also bumped up Sovereignty into the 2nd spot. He was in my 3rd spot previously to take Tapan Street's spot. And then I had some shifting down below. So I had Final Gambit as my 4th horse. He's now going to be in the 4th spot. He will stay there. But my new 3-spot horse is the 13-horse Publisher. I'm actually going to put the maiden in there. He's at 20-1 on the morning line, but I think he's going to be way higher than that. Expect him to be 50 to 60-1. I think a pace meltdown could happen in this race with East Avenue and now Citizen Bold, Neo Echoes out of those inside 2 spots. Citizen Bold from the rail, Neo Echoes in the 2 spot. They obviously have to go from that position. And now with the defection of Rodriguez, I think they are the main speed from the rail there. And obviously East Avenue, I think, will be sending, as he found a lot of success with that strategy last time. So look for those 3 horses to be going strong up front. And so that's why I like Publisher and then Final Gambit as my 3 and 4 spots. And then in the 5th spot, I ended up having Burnham Square, but obviously we're just giving our superfectas out today. I do like the way Publisher's been training. I like that he outworked Tiztastic the other day. We got to see that video through XPTV, so that was good to see. I don't know if he was meant to outwork his workmate, but he definitely looked like he got the better of the two in that workout. So Publisher, I think he'll come with his customary run. If you look at his form, he rarely ever runs a bad race. Does Publisher? He's always closing. And the one time he ran seventh, um, the one time he kind of disappointed, he had a lot of excuses, bobbled at the break. He was jammed at the eighth pole. So out of 7 starts, 2 seconds, 3/3, he always runs his race, and I don't think the Derby will be any different. I'm not saying he's a win candidate, but I think he can definitely hit the board for your trifecta, superfecta wagers. Like I said, I think he's going to be 40 to 50 to 1, so he's going to make those tickets really cash. So the 13 Publisher for me in that third spot there behind Journalism and Sovereignty. So those are just my overall reactions. I think with the speed being towards the inside, that kind of just ensures that it's going to be a pretty solid pace. But yeah, Liam, for me, that's kind of all I think about it. And then Baeza getting in, obviously, in the far outside rail. Other than that, I think everyone drew well. I mean, Journalism, I'm sure if they could have picked a spot for the Derby favorite, they probably would have chose like 8 or 9. So I think that that worked out perfectly for him. So yeah, not too many crazy surprises with the draw.
Yeah, no, definitely.
All right. What do you say we move on and we get into our Kentucky Oaks Superfectas? How you say we give out our picks for that one?
Yeah, let's do it. For me, I'm gonna be a little boring with the Kentucky Oaks. I'm looking at the number 11 Good Cheer. Um, I just think she's the best horse in the race, flat out. She's 6 for 6, 3 for 3 at Churchill. Her numbers are getting better every start. I don't think the 9 furlongs will be any problem for her. And I think she's got the right running style for this race, you know. She's not a huge, like, deep closer. She doesn't really need the lead either. She's kind of a tactical horse, sits mid pack, and just kind of makes one move. So I think the 9 furlongs will suit her well as a daughter of Medaglia d'Oro. For second place, I looked in the number 14 Quiet Side. This horse has been really consistent on the Kentucky Oaks Trail. 7 starts, she's won 3, run second 3 times, and has a third place finish. And she outdueled Simply Joking last time out in the Fantasy at Oaklawn Park. This horse is just really consistent. The 14 post is a little concerning, but I think she's going to be forwardly placed in this spot. So I'm going to have her underneath for second. For third, I looked at number 6, Ballerina Doro for Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. I think if it does rain tomorrow, I think it's going to help this horse even more. There's another daughter, Medaglia d'Oro, so I don't think the 9 furlongs will be any problem. She won the Gazelle last time out. This horse is just really gritty. She shows a lot of fight. So I think she'll be in the mix at the top of the lane for sure. And then for fourth, I threw in a little bit of a price, the number 5, Quick Kick, for trainer Tom Amis. Umberto Rispoli has the ride for the first time. I don't think this horse is a win candidate by any means, but she's kind of a horse that just plugs along. She was third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies last year, and she was just recently fourth in the Fairgrounds Oaks to Good Cheer, and she was also second in the Darley Alcibiades last year at Keeneland to the eventual Breeders' Cup winner in Immersive. So this horse always kind of comes with her run late. She doesn't have a huge turn of foot, but she always kind of plugs along, so maybe she can make those superfectas pay. I think she's going to be all of that 30 to 1 morning line, maybe even higher. So it's 11, 14, 6, 5 for me in this year's Kentucky Oaks.
Okay, no, I definitely am a little afraid of Good Cheer as well. And she has shown that in the past she can encounter some trouble and then still make her move, and still run her race. I just don't know. I don't know. I just think the waters are getting a little bit tougher. I know she beat Quiet Side 3 back, but that is who I'm going to settle on as my top pick. I've liked Quiet Side for a while, and I think with these 3-year-old horses, either gender, fillies and colts, I think you really have to look at what is their upward trajectory. Are they improving? Are they staying the same? Did they peak in January? Are they maintaining their form from January? And now you might not necessarily like those because you kind of know what they are and they're just staying the same. I think Quiet Side is getting better. She beat 5G's, a speed horse who's also in here. Muhima, who had a lot of early talent in the early season, and then kind of petered out there. But she beat Muhima, and then she's on a back-to-back win streak there. Last time, like you said, beating Simply Joking, who I'm very high on. I think Simply Joking is a really nice filly. So Quiet Side, she's going to be on top for me. The only thing I don't like about her is the 14 post, but I like the jockey. I think Jose Ortiz, he's piloted her to her last 2 wins. I think he knows what he's doing, and I think he'll be able to work out a decent trip from that spot. If she just shows enough tactical speed, which I think she has, she can get out there for trainer John Ortiz there. So the 14 quiet side on top for me. I'm going to a bit of a long shot in second here. I know it's shocking I'm not using good cheer in my top two, but I'll explain why. The 10 take charge Milady. Here's another one that I think is also improving. Last time, she was at the mercy of a slow pace. So Lakara just obviously just took them around there. Keeneland, kind of a merry-go-round style race, right? She went 47 and change. She got it all her own way. And Take Charge Milady was really the only one closing in that race. If you go back and watch it visually, she was the only one making up legitimate ground. Two back in the Honeybee. Obviously, she got dusted in that race, but she was real tight at the start and then had a lot of traffic at the 3/8 bowl. So I wouldn't worry about that. Just draw a line through it. And if you draw a line through that, she has back-to-back wins going back before that race. And then obviously with the second in the Ashland last time. So Take Charge Milady. I think she's going to come with her run. Brian Hernandez, I think she'll get a little bit more of an honest pace here with this 14-horse field and more pace than just Lakara. The connections of Lakara have already said that they're sending hard to get the lead. So with her and 5G, I believe they are right next to each other here in the 7 and 8 hole. 8 hole, yes. They're going to be coming out of there. 5G's not going to let Lakara just get an easy lead. So look for Take Charge Milady to be flying at the end there. So the 14 quiet side over the 10 Take Charge Milady for me. And then in the third spot, I do have Good Cheer. I just think from the 11 hole, if she encounters any trouble at all, I just think she could regress and perhaps just run third here. I'm going to put her in the third spot because I think she's very classy. So I can't really take her out of my super because she's such a legitimate filly. But I think she could get beat in this one with two fillies on top that I think are improving in their own 3-year-old form. And I don't think they've reached their ceiling yet, is my point. I think Good Cheer has kind of shown what she is, but I think the other two fillies can keep improving. And Quiet Side showed that she didn't get beat that far by Good Cheer last time they faced each other. So I think she could turn the tables there. So Good Cheer in that third spot for me. And then to round out the super, I like the 13 Bless the Broken. This is another one I'm trying to really make the super pay with this one. William Walden sends this one out. Last time winning at Turfway, that's how she got into this race, getting the points there in the race at Turfway in the Bourbonnais Oaks. Winning by 2 in that race, not super impressed with that one. I don't know who she was really beating in there. However, I do like she ran third behind Good Cheer, obviously dusted in that race. But then 2 lengths behind Simply Joking and the Silver Bullet Day at Fairgrounds. I think she always runs her race. She's very consistent. She's by Leoban, who, if you remember that sire, he was kind of just a grinder. And I think she took that from her sire. She is sort of just a grinding type. And I think if she can get over, John Velasquez can save some ground in that first turn. Look for Bless the Broken to come running there at the end to also make the superfectas pay here. So obviously I have Good Cheer in there in the mix, and I have some shorter prices, but I also have some bombs there in my superfecta, hoping to make it pay. With the 14 Quiet Side over the 10, Take Charge Milady over the 11, Good Cheer over the 13, Bless the Broken for me, Liam, in the Oaks tomorrow.
Yeah, I like it. For the Oaks, undercard play, I'm looking at race 9. It goes as the 8 bells, 7 furlongs for 3-year-old fillies. I'm looking at the number 7 Mandela going out for Chris Hartman. Um, this horse made 2 starts to start her career at Oaklawn Park. I thought she should have won the first one by far. She was the best horse in the race. She was last early on the backstretch, had to dive down towards the inside and just ended up getting beat a neck. She comes out, she comes back out next time, and impresses as a 6-5 favorite, won by almost 7 lengths, earning a decent figure too. Got an 82 buyer there in a 12-horse field. Did see some early fractions, so got a pretty good setup. But I think she could get another good setup in here, and I think it's encouraging that they send her right off a maiden win to a grade 1 on the Kentucky Oaks undercard. So they obviously think very highly of this horse. And I think if you can get 15 to 1, I think that's a lot of value in this race. I don't think it's the strongest version of the 8 bells we've ever seen. So I'm looking at the number 7 Mandela. If you're playing those pick 5s or doubles, maybe a little price that you can get home.
Yeah, no, I actually looked at the exact same race on the undercard for my value play there. I just went in a slightly different direction. I do like the 7 Mandela, and I think she could run a huge race. Obviously, now working over the Churchill track, she got a half-mile work in there last time. I definitely expect her to run well as well. But I like the 11 look forward. That's who I'm going to put on top for a couple of reasons. McCarthy sends this one out. Obviously, this was a one of the last winner, I think, for the late trainer Ben Cecil. Now still in the Redham barn, but with Michael McCarthy. Since her race in the Starlet at Los Alamitos, where she ran behind Tenma, routing Tenma, obviously going in the Oaks tomorrow. However, I don't think that Look Forward wants to route. They've tried her routing 3 times out of her 5 lifetime starts. The 2 times she's run sprinting, she's won. She's undefeated around one turn. I think she gets back to what she wants to do here. And if you look at her last route race in the Ashland, she was a step slow. And then you look at the Honeybee at Oaklawn. She bobbled off slow again. But sprinting, both those races, she came out of the gate fine. I think now getting Riespley, going from Mario Gutierrez to Riespley, I like that change as well. Obviously, McCarthy and Riespley have a lot of chemistry there, trainer jockey tandem, obviously with journalism and the Derby, but they have a lot of experience working with one another. So I think Look Forward 12-1 on the morning line, but if you can get a number higher than that, I'd say definitely include her on those tickets, like you said, with doubles, pick fives. I think she wants to go one turn, so it's kind of that. We don't really know what will happen. Will it be a horse that's really improving, that's more lightly raced, like Mandela, who you never know what the ceiling is with one like that, or Look Forward, she's more seasoned, she's more stakes experienced, but I don't really think she's been placed in the best spots for her specific skill sets. Obviously, at this time of the year, connections want to run their 3-year-old fillies in Oaks prep races just to see what they have. But I think now making the right decision for the horse, getting her back in sprint company. So look forward to improve in this spot, get a little better in that form reversal. That's the value play for me in the Oaks undercard, Liam.
Yeah, let's get right into the main event. You know what everyone's here for, the
Yeah.
Kentucky Derby. Goes as race 12 on Churchill's absolutely stacked Saturday card. Probably the second best card we'll see all year, other than the Breeders' Cup Saturday. And I'm sticking with my horse. He's been my horse for a couple of months. That's Sovereignty from Post 18 for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado. The thing I like about this horse is just he comes with his run every time, and I really don't think he's pace dependent at all. And I think he'll be a little closer than some of the other deep closers in this race. Gulfstream Park's not really a track where that it's necessarily easy to close into. He didn't see any 22 and change, 45 and change fractions in any of those prep races. And I thought his most impressive race on the trail was the Fountain of Youth, where he ran down River Thames, who looked like he was gone at the top of the stretch. He comes back. He did get beat by Tapan Street in the Florida Derby, but he was gaining on him, and who knows, maybe a couple more strides he would have got up to win. And he does get another furlong here in the Kentucky Derby. So I'm going to Sovereignty on top. I think if you can get around like 7, 8 to 1, I think that'd be an absolutely great value play. He's sitting at around 11, 12 to 1 right now with the early money, but I think that's still subject to change, obviously, as we have a couple days leading up to the race. And then I did put the number 8 Journalism second. I'm not knocking this horse at all. I've loved all of his prep races. I definitely think he's the most likely win candidate. And if he gets an absolutely perfect trip and comes with his run, I don't think there's any way he gets beat. I'm just taking a shot that Sovereignty can run him down because I think he's going to be at least double the price. And then for third, I went to the 7 Luxor Cafe. I was a little high on this horse last episode, and I just think he's going to offer value. He's really a mystery. We don't really know a lot about this horse. We don't know about the competition. There's a lot of question marks. I watched his race 2 back where he just got up to win by half a length. They kept him way out in the clear. They didn't let him get any of that kickback. They kept him way out in the clear, and he just came with his run. I think if you can get a similar trip like that, a lot of those the Japanese tracks, they're really deep and sandy. It's very different from what he's going to see at Churchill Downs, especially if it rains and if the track's a little off. So that's definitely a big question mark on this horse. But I mean, he's by American Pharoah. The 10 furlongs isn't going to be a problem at all. So I'm going to take a shot on him to hit the board. And then for fourth, I am going to go to the number 21 Baeza. We've been wanting this horse to draw in for 3 weeks now, and he does get in the race. I think post 20 is obviously going to be something he has to overcome. But I do think this horse is really talented. Obviously, only got beat less than a length to journalism. And I think he's a little bit more tactical than some of the other deep closers. So if this pace isn't as hot as everyone thinks it will be, I think Baeza is going to be sitting in a great spot. I think journalism and Baeza might be dueling it out at the top of the lane, and my hope is that Sovereignty can come run them down. I think a lot of people are going to be attracted to the final gambits, the publishers, the Sandmans. I'm not knocking any of those horses. I just think they're going to be slightly overbet, and I don't really like anyone from those Arkansas prep races. Obviously we saw Cornucopian come back in that 3 horse allowance race at New York. Maybe the Arkansas Derby took too much out of him, but I'm just going to stay away from Oaklawn and Louisiana this year. I'm going to look to the West Coast and Gulfstream to find my winners, which have produced us a lot of Kentucky Derby winners over the years. So it's Sovereignty over Journalism, over Luxor Cafe, over Baeza for Derby 151.
That's a very good point too, and I think the only Arkansas Derby winners I feel like we've seen in recent memories that have gone on to win the Derby have been horses that were from California, like American Pharoah. So that doesn't really count as a Arkansas Derby horse or Arkansas prep season horse that goes on to win the Kentucky Derby. But yeah, no, that's definitely a solid top five, and I like Sovereignty as well. I have him in my number 2 spot though, under Journalism. It's gonna be Journalism on top for me. I can't find any weaknesses with this horse. The only thing and the one thing that I disagreed with that whole time you were speaking, I agreed with almost everything except for I think that race where Tapan Street and Sovereignty. It didn't look to me like Tapan Street was kind of slowing down. It did look like Sovereignty was closing, don't get me wrong. But in the River Thames race, Sovereignty was really, really closing. And in that race, it kind of just looked like him and Tapan Street were coming on as one. It almost looked like if he would have joined him, Tapan Street would have just kept going, and they maybe would have maintained that same margin, say 3/4 of a length, half a length maybe. But just like they do in the mornings, I think they could have kept going on together. I don't think he was running out of horse on the front end, but obviously Tapan Street out now. So I definitely like Sovereignty as well. He's going to be my second choice there behind Journalism. I do think your point is very valid as well. I don't think he's as pace dependent as horses like Sandman, Publisher, horses like that, that kind of need a real fast pace in order to make their run really meaningful, their closing kick. But in the third spot behind those top 2, I do have Publisher, the 13. And like you said, I was a little wary of the Arkansas Derby. It was kind of a phony race, I feel like, because Cornucopian did come back to really disappoint in that 3-horse field. But I am going to stick with Publisher, and this is not because of the Arkansas Derby specifically. It's because of his overall body of work. And he is obviously a maiden, but he has 7 lifetime starts. Publisher does 2 seconds, 3/3. The only time he ran bad was that race where he got in a lot of trouble. So he's going to be in my top 3 there. I think he's going to get a fast pace, just like we were saying with the post position draw, with a lot of the speed concentrated down to the rail, down to the inside. Those horses, those connections have to feel like they have to go early out of the gate to get position, and I think that's going to guarantee a hot half mile and hot first 3/4 of the race. So I think that'll set up for horses that do need that fast pace, like Publisher. I just don't like you said, I don't really like Sandman for one because he's going to take too much money, and he's also in that 17 box, which seems like it's cursed for some reason. But yeah, so I'm going to stay away from Sandman. I think Publisher is a horse though that is improving. I think he can get better. Another reason why I'm choosing Publisher over a horse like Sandman is because of the greenness that Sandman has still showed. He showed like he's still learning, still figuring it out, and I really don't like that in a 20-horse field. He's not really shown that he has his mind on business. I think the horses all just kind of came back to him in that race. He still won the race, so no disrespect to him, but I still think there's a lot of question marks with him. In that 4th spot, I'm going to go to the number 3, Final Gambit. The reason why is he's never run a bad race in his life. The only time he ran 3rd and he didn't run 1st or 2nd was on the turf first time out. So I think you throw that out. And then if you look at his body of work since then, he's another 3-year-old that has been steadily improving every start. With the last race obviously being the most impressive. They didn't go too fast there in the Jeff Ruby up front, but he was able to make a kick that made it look like the pace was collapsing in front of him. Obviously, the dirt is a question, but I like the way he's been training. I've been watching all his morning works. So final gambit for me, I think from that 3 hole, he's obviously going to drop back. He's got all that speed around him. He's going to get a nice tracking trip, and I think he's going to save tons of ground. And who's to say those horses like Publisher, Sovereignty with those wider posts? What if they get hung out 5, 6 wide on the turn and the first turn and the second turn, and final gambit's in there saving ground? So if he's okay with taking that kickback, taking the dirt, I don't see why there would be any reason that he can't close. And he's also by not this time who is a winner there at Churchill Downs and has turned out to be a fantastic sire for dirt horses. And he's out of a Tappet mare who obviously was running in those classic races. Another great generational sire. So final gambit, bred for the dirt. He works great over it. That's enough for me to take a shot and put him in that 4th spot as far as that dirt question. So final gambit in that 4th spot for me for Brad Cox to round out the supers. So the 8 journalism over the 18 sovereignty over the 13 publisher over the 3 final gambit for me for the super for the Derby, Liam.
All right, yeah. So we both have the same exacta. We both definitely think it might be a chalky 1-2 this year. I have a feeling we're gonna get some upsets though underneath and maybe even into that exacta, but I'd be pretty shocked if one of sovereignty or journalism isn't right there at the wire. For my value play for the Kentucky Derby undercard, this is an amazing card. I was looking at race 8. I thought it was really intriguing. It's the Churchill Downs $1 million race going 7 furlongs for older sprinters. I'm looking at the number 3 Bookham Dano to try and get a little price in there. Second off the layoff, this horse had a horrible trip in the Cigar Mile. Ended up fit that day to Lock, who is running in the Ali Sheba against Fierceness, who's coming back. That was a very good race. And then he was off till March. He comes back in a 3-horse race during that 3-day meet at Colonial. He got a really easy comeback. I like that he came back in a race that, he probably couldn't lose in to just get a little tune-up for this race. He ran good. He drew away, won by 2.5, got a 96 buyer. But I just like this horse. I think he's going to offer a lot of value in this spot. Paco Lopez has the ride. He rode him last time out at Colonial. I don't know how many opportunities Paco Lopez has in $1 million races, but I think he's going to be trying his hardest. I just think a lot of horses in here are going to take money that I'm not in love with. Nisos is coming back off the over the year layoff. I think Mindframe's got to take a lot of money. Mulligan as well, Extra Anejo, Giant Mischief, even banishing the David Jacobson horse. So you might end up getting Bookham Dano at 6th or 7th choice in this field, which sounds crazy. I think he might get bit down a little, but you're going to get a good price on this horse who always comes with his run. And I think they tried 2 turns on the 3-year-old trail last year. I think he's well suited going 7 furlongs. He's by Bucaro. So I think this trip hits him right in the head, and I think you're going to get a good price on a horse that is likely to come with a run. And the faster they throw up that quarter and half, you're going to like if you have Bookham Dano. So that's going to be my value play for the Derby undercard. But there's a lot of great races, and yeah, that's going to be my value play for the day.
No, I like it, Liam. He's a really consistent runner. The Churchill Downs Stakes is definitely one of the, I'd say the other race that I'm most looking forward to watching other than the Derby. Obviously, like you said, there's Fierceness. Torpedo Anna is running all on this weekend. So a lot of really exciting races to look forward to. My value play is going to be in race 3 on Derby Day. The first condition allowance race going a 1.16 there. I'm looking at the 5-horse goal oriented for Tom Ryan Syndicate with Bob Baffert. We saw they just got the win today with Fort Bragg there, so they're starting off the weekend on the right foot. Obviously, they lost Rodriguez there for the Derby with the bruise, so maybe it's kind of this pendulum of racing luck is swinging back in their favor now that they lost him, so they're going to maybe get a couple of these undercard victories. So in contrast to Look Forward, she's obviously going to be a bigger price for my value play on Friday. And obviously, Bookham Dano, I think you'll get double-digit odds, which is fantastic value for a very consistent horse there. So everyone definitely pay attention to that. Bookham Dano, I think, has a legit shot in there. I like Goal Oriented, though, in this spot. We were there on hand at Santa Anita for his debut. He looked really green in the first part of the race, and then in the second half of the race, he looked like a consummate professional. I've rarely seen a first-time starter do that in the span of one race, but he was able to do it. He looked very professional. He's buying out this time out of an Afleet Alex mare, so I think a route of ground is what he wants. I think he's going to want to go even farther than a mile and a 16th, and you could tell in that race they were kind of teaching him in that first start, and I think Baffert has had plans to bring this horse to Derby weekend for a while. So I really, really like this horse. 4-1 on the morning line. If you can get 4-1 or higher, I think this is a horse you could hammer. Obviously, 4-1's not as good as like other value plays we've been giving out, but I think this is one you could put a little bit more money on and really capitalize here on a horse where in a small field in California, Goal Oriented would be maybe 3-5, 4-5, and you're getting 4-1 here because of the big fields at Churchill. So I really like him there as my value play on Derby Saturday. That is going to be it for us today on this episode of Racing Rundown. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to tune in for the next episode. We will be diving into the second leg of the Triple Crown, going over the Preakness Stakes, previewing it for you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, subscribing, like, comment, let us know your thoughts. We'd love to hear them, and we will see you next time on the Racing Rundown.